Have you ever walked out of a courtroom with that sinking feeling that you were just punished simply for speaking up? You file a complaint or raise an issue, and suddenly everything gets harder? If that sounds familiar, I want you to know you're not imagining things. This right here, this is your playbook for understanding what's going on and how to start building your defense.
So here's our game plan. We're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, what is court retaliation in legal terms? Then we'll use a simple traffic light system, green, yellow, or red, to figure out where you stand. After that, we get to the good stuff, how to build a defensive file and nail your communication strategy. And we'll wrap it all up with 5 huge mistakes you absolutely have to avoid.
All right, let's dive right in, because this is probably the most important thing to get your head around. There is a huge difference between feeling like you're being targeted and what you actually need to show a court. Closing that gap is step 1.
Does that sound familiar? I mean, wow. That one sentence just captures it all, doesn't it? It's that chilling moment when you feel like you went from being a person with a case to being the problem. And if you're feeling that way, trust me, you are not the first and you are not alone.
Okay, so this is how the legal system sees it. It's not about your feeling, it's about a 3-part formula. Number 1, you did something you were allowed to do, a protected activity, like filing a complaint. Number 2, something bad happened to you, an adverse action, like a bad ruling. And number 3, this is the hardest part, you have to prove the causal connection. You have to show that the bad thing happened because you spoke up.
So, with that legal definition in mind, where do you actually stand? Let's use a quick tool to help you get a handle on your specific situation. Think of this as your reality check moment.
Let's break this down. A green situation. Yeah, it stinks, but it's probably just the system being the system. You just watch and wait. Yellow is when your gut starts screaming at you. Paperwork gets lost, attitudes change, something's not right. This is when you start documenting everything. But red is a 5-alarm fire. The punishment is so clearly and immediately tied to your complaint that you can't ignore it. This is when you go into full-on defense mode.
Okay, so if you've decided you're in a yellow or red situation, this is where you take back control. Your number 1 most powerful weapon is documentation. This isn't about getting emotional. It's about being methodical and building an undeniable, fireproof case for yourself. Let's talk about how.
It all boils down to 2 simple things. Number 1, you're going to start a timeline. This is your diary of the case, a log of every single thing that happens. And 2, you become a collector. You gather every single shred of paper, every email, every court order connected to your case. That's it. These 2 things are the foundation of everything.
And look, a timeline doesn't have to be some complex legal document. It's just the facts: date, event, what happened, and what proof you have. But look at that quote from the judge. You seem more focused on attacking the system. That is pure gold. Why? Because it directly connects your action, attacking the system, to the punishment, increased supervised visits. That right there is how you start proving that causal connection we talked about.
And when it comes to collecting documents, you need to think broadly. Of course, you're going to get court orders and transcripts, but also emails, letters, if you're in traffic court, even tickets and payment notices. You want to create a complete 360-degree picture that leaves no room for doubt.
So you've got your file building. Now, how you talk and write about this stuff is absolutely critical. It's a real tightrope walk. You need to say things that protect the official record for a potential appeal, but you have to do it in a way that doesn't just make the judge even angrier.
I mean, just look at the difference here. The column on the left is calm, it's respectful, and it's all about the record. It forces them to be clear. The column on the right, well, that's just pure emotion. And look, I get it. It might feel good to yell for a second, but all it does is give them a perfect excuse to label you as disruptive and completely ignore your point.
This phrasing right here is just brilliant for written communication. Notice how it doesn't accuse them of anything. Instead, it asks for assurance. It puts the focus back on fairness and the rule of law, the things the court is supposed to care about. It makes you sound like the reasonable one.
Okay, you've built your file, you've got your communication strategy down, but all that amazing work can be wiped out in a split second. In the heat of the moment, it's so easy to make a critical error that just sabotages your own case. Let's go over 5 of the biggest ones to avoid.
Here's the common thread with all of these mistakes. They change the subject. They make the conversation about your bad behavior instead of the court's. If you violate a court order because you're mad, nobody cares about why you were mad, they only care that you broke the rules. If you start talking about conspiracies without solid proof, you've just lost all your credibility. The key is to keep the spotlight on the facts you've gathered.
So that brings us to the end. We've gone from that sinking feeling of being punished to having a real, concrete plan. So let's make it real. Let's put it into action. Just answer this one question for yourself. What is the very first thing, the first date, the first event, the first piece of evidence that you are going to add to your timeline today? Because that simple act, that is you taking your power back.